For many years, Code Geass was my favorite anime of all time, and to this day, it remains at the very top of my list. One of these many reasons why I love it so dearly is, well, two reasons: Colin's boobs! And the other more relevant reason, at least more relevant to this video, of why I loved Code Geass to this insane extent is because Code Geass had my personal favorite ending to any anime of all time. The finale of Code Geass is so fantastic. Every time I rewatch the series, the final twist is on my mind for days. And believe it or not, it's built off the back of a war arc. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of my war arc analysis series where I'm uploading daily because I'm an idiot, but also an absolute mad lad. Videos that normally take like a week to make, but hey, to all the editors that have been helping me thus far, you guys are the real MVPs. In fact, Jack, his boy, who's editing this video, just hit 1,000 subs on his channel. Linked his channel in the description. Feel free to send him my love. And my cringe! But back to Code Geass for a moment. I've discussed various war arcs until this point. I've discussed the 7 Deadly Sins war arc, where the purpose is to thematically finish the tale of every character. The Black Clover war arc, which is to thematically jive with the entirety of the story. The One Piece Marineford war, to expand the universe and as the ultimate beginning point of an entirely new journey in One Piece. Now, this is along with many others that I've discussed, but none are quite like Code Geass because I've selected these wars specifically because each is beautiful in its own way. Code Geass, and the beauty of this war arc is not the war arc itself. The war arc is merely a pawn in Lelouch's plan, and that's why this war is great. This war is great, not purely because of the epic fights and strategies taking place within the actual war, but that it was all a greater facade to what Lelouch was actually planning all along. Now, from this point forward, I highly suggest you watch Code Geass. I mean, I tried to use these war arcs as examples on how a war arc could be done right without spoiling in case you have yet to see the series, but in this case, bruh, you gotta watch Code Geass. It's legit one of the best things out there, and the ending is fantastic, and this video will spoil that ending. So please, I implore you, watch Code Geass before watching this video. Even if it results in less watch time for me, I will selflessly take that hit. Get it? Get the reference? Selflessly take that. Anyway, the point is, to quickly sum up the plot, Lelouch backhandedly somehow became the king and emperor of Britannia. Now, throughout the series, Lelouch really tried his hardest to destroy Britannia, so it's pretty epic and ironically hilarious that he managed to completely take over, mind control a bunch of the servant guys, and he has the strongest fighting force in the world. Well, it can only really be rivaled by the alliance of rebels that he himself built up to rebel against Britannia. We don't know what's going through his mind when he takes the position of king. We know that his former allies lost a lot of trust for him when they figured out he was an actual prince of Britannia all along, and they felt like they were betrayed by his lies. That said, it seems like he became the very thing that he swore to destroy. One epic battle later, with many epic scenes and strategies, epic fights and brawls, whammon and gentle whammon, Lelouch, and by extension, Britannia, took the W, crushed the rebel alliance that he himself put together with his own two hands as the last fighting force against this oppressive Britannian empire. And with this, Lelouch finally became the emperor of the world, as well as the most hated person in the world. By doing what he did, in essence, he unified the entire world as his archenemies that all hate him. They all have the same philosophies, same ideologies. They all hate Lelouch and his empire that ruthlessly took over the world. Now, Lelouch finishes this epic plan off with the character Zero, a character he's been portraying this entire story as an ideal more than as a actual figure, and he had his friend dressed in this Zero uniform murder him in public. With him gone and the entire world completely unified at this point, the mad lad actually managed to cause world peace, and it became clear to only his closest friends that this was actually a charade, being that he was Zero. And as he quote-unquote died, he caused ultimate world peace. So now here's the thing. As far as superficial strategies go, and as far as an epic ending climax to a story, the entirety of this massive war, where Lelouch is going head-to-head against his brother who's outsmarted him several times in the past, where in the middle of this battle, they come up with technology to counter these nuclear weapons, where they put enough TNT into an effing volcano for it to erupt and do heavy damage to the land units. Characters that we've known since the beginning have died. finally overcomes this insane psychological issue out of pure blind hatred for her brother, who's loved her and taken care of her his entire life. The entire world saw Lelouch in an entirely different light. Lelouch completely played it up. There was a war that gave no, even slight hints to Lelouch's actual intentions, and after this entire war is over, and we're kind of sort of rooting for Lelouch, but at the same time, not really, because, you know, it's kind of like Bad Emperor 2 took the place of Bad Emperor 1. Yeah, we know Schneisel, the leader of the rebellion, is a dick too, so it's like the ultimate massive climax war, but everyone's a dick. So while the war itself was entertaining, it was in a really morally gray zone. And after all the casualties, after all the trauma everyone's been through, and after torturing so many of the characters we've known until this point, Lelouch rigs the game that the ideal of Zero that is created all along takes his life and causes world peace. Obviously, this is the Zero Requiem, his ultimate strategy that this entire war continged on, and the reason why this is a war arc done right is because it completely fooled every other character in the series as well as every viewer. We all thought the war actually mattered for the sake of victory, but it wasn't clear at all that the entire victory is all for the sake of him causing himself to take the fall for the good of humankind. The world is now at complete peace, and the brilliantly created war arc was a success as a stepping stone to his actual plan. I've honestly never seen that anywhere else, and that is why I wanted to make a video on it. But now here's the other thing. Lelouch is a character that most of us have been fascinated by throughout the course of the Code Geass series. He is a Machiavellian character. In other words, he will do whatever it takes to get what he wants. He will manipulate people, and he will even potentially twist their own hopes and ideals against them so he can cause them to work for him, where technically they'd both benefit, but really mostly Lelouch would benefit. That was actually his point the whole time. We've seen him do this the entire series, and he also sports the ideal of the end justifies the means. In the end of the day, casualties for a better end result are negligible. Now, Suzaku, a character that a lot of people hate, even though I personally don't, but still kind of get upset at sometimes, is supposed to be a complete antithesis to every ideology Lelouch possesses. He does not believe the end justifies the means. You gotta always be doing the right thing and saving the most people at all times. We'll worry about the end when we get there. And at the same time, he's the opposite of Machiavellian. He will do the noble thing and never lie to anyone. They both want to change the Britannian government, so Lelouch does this by convincing a rebel army that he's fighting for the sake of Japan, when in actuality he's just fighting for the sake of revenge, and his plan is to take down Britannia. Suzaku, on the other hand, he joins the Britannian Empire to become a knight and hopes to rise in the ranks to the point that he can change it from the inside out. No casualties necessary. Now, this philosophy is a bit too idealistic for Lelouch's take, and that's why they spend the majority of the series butting heads with one another. Now, what makes this war actually really fascinating from Lelouch's perspective is before this starts, he and Suzaku take on the entire world. There are going to be many heavy-duty casualties, and that doesn't seem very much like Suzaku, and Lelouch all of a sudden wants to take over the world and become the very thing he's despised until this point. Nothing adds up from their entire perspective from their previous philosophies as to what's going on in this fight. Now, the ending of the series, where Suzaku, who is assumed to be dead, takes the role of Zero, an ideal of freedom rather than an individual, and kills Lelouch, who at this point, in the eyes of the entire world, represents the antagonist, where the entire world is unified against him, causing peace. We see the evolution of both of these characters' ideological perspectives on the world and life. Suzaku has learned that idealism only takes you so far, and this is a better option in this distinct scenario, and Lelouch, well, his quote-unquote death is absolutely fascinating. You can see his death from two perspectives. On the one hand, maybe he died. Maybe he actually grew a selfless bone in his body over his nefarious machinations throughout the entirety of the series and decided, yes, ending my life is better for the world and it should be done. This goes against his Machiavellian philosophy in entirety, and it proves that his altercation with his father in the Ragnarok connection actually helped him grow as a character. His father decided, why have free will and why have people die if we can live in some form of endless Tsukuyomi type thing? And Lelouch says there's no purpose to that. That's an entirely different philosophical discussion fit for another day, but the point is that altercation developed his character and Suzaku's character to the point that Suzaku realized, yes, a world without choice and without death would be meaningless, so the idealistic route is not necessarily always the correct one. And Lelouch grows from this, seeing that he is not his father, and he will actually find a peaceful resting place for the world. Now, this is all purely speculation of his psychology and philosophy based on the fact that he dies at the end of Code Geass. As it remains ambiguous in the series, I'm not talking about the movies, there are many theories floating around on how he could have survived that if he gained immortality from one way or another. Not the point, but the beauty is, if he did survive, then his Machiavellian personality from the entirety of the show did not change one iota, and his altercation with his father didn't help him develop into a new philosophy, but instead, it strengthened his old one. That is why I love the ambiguous ending of Code Geass, and that's why this war arc, which is such a small glimpse at his character and what his mind is actually thinking throughout, is so goddamn fantastic. This is the best damn ending of any anime I've ever seen in my entire life, and there is no close second, at least not yet, and at least not to me. This ambiguous ending is perfect. People who see it one way or another, like it's black and white, I feel like miss the beauty of the ambiguity. We are left forever thinking if he's evolved his philosophy into a new one, which explains every single course of action he's taken throughout this entire war and his alleged death, or did it strengthen his previous philosophy, which also explains every single action in this entire war, including his alleged death, in a completely different freaking way. Ladies and gentlemen, share this video with your friends. Needs to get known. And also subscribe, buy my merch, enjoy the War Arc series. Check out my other episodes of War Arc analyses. Whammin' and gentle whammin', I'm glad I made this video. Even though my War Arc series is not really getting views, I don't care. Core fan base sees it, and that's what freaking counts. Also share it with your friends, because I didn't do a good job convincing myself that views don't matter. Also, go watch Code Geass if you haven't heeded my warning and spoilery shiz attacked you. It's amazing throughout. Have yourselves a most wonderful evening, and remember to stay weird, fam.